Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be making 5-finger paws. Please be patient with this as this is my first fully put together long stream content. You will start your paws by tracing out your pattern. I am using a kloofsuits pattern onto your fur of choice. I suggest having around a yard of fur available to you. Please be sure to mirror all your pattern pieces on the fur so that you can have a piece for both hand paws. You should also make sure that the fur is going in the direction of the fingertips. Make sure you label every piece with what it is, especially label your fingers so that you know which is which. You should either write the names of them on there or you should write their numbers. When you finish tracing onto the fur, you're going to want to carefully cut out each of the pieces, trying not to cut the fur itself and trying to only cut the backing. I didn't record this part for some reason, I'm not sure why, but this is going to take a while and you're going to have some patience with it, and if you don't rush it, it will end up looking neat and nice by the end of this. Once your fur is cut out, you are going to find the pieces that you are needing to shave down. Those are going to be all your finger pieces and your palms. You shave this down to add like a contrast between the long fur and the short fur so that you can really see the fingers, and it just overall makes the paws look cleaner. And please make sure to brush the fur before you shave it in order to get the cleanest shave possible. For this specific pair of paws, I shaved the wrist of the palm as well, but you do not have to do that. It's just personal preference of the person who these paws were going to. You can choose to shave all these fingers down in like one big sheet, so you could shave before you cut them out. It just makes the process go a little faster if you want it that way. When all the fur is completely shaved down and finished, you are going to start sewing on your paw pads. For this, you're going to take whatever fleece or minky fabric you have and cut it into small squares, big enough to fit over your finger pieces. Once you have all these pieces, you're going to lay the fur face down on the fabric and start sewing around the circle that you made in your tracing step, the first step. You should go fairly slow with this so that you can make them look as clean as possible, and make sure you keep the fabrics as flat as possible so that it doesn't look creased in the end of the product. You're going to repeat this step with all the fingers and the palm pads as well. When all the paw pads are sewn, you are going to take your scissors and you're going to carefully trim the excess off around the edge of your seam. And you want to be careful not to cut the fur underneath it, or else it might make it look a little uneven there. If you do, it's not a super big deal. It's kind of hard to notice, but I still suggest to be careful. This pretty much just makes the paw pads more defined, and it gets rid of all the extra fabric that is there. You can use pretty much any scissors for this, whether it's the scissors you use to cut the fur initially or just any other pair of scissors. I usually use my regular fabric scissors to do this, or I use a pair of sharp, smaller medical scissors so that I can get a more precise and smooth cut than I would be able to with a larger scissors. Once all the paw pads are sorted out and finished, you're going to take the tops of the fingers and you're going to sew the middle, like, spaces between the two edges. And this will bring the two halves together and it will make it more like a curved look, giving it the really, like, puffy look that you see with fursuit hand paws. This is also a step where you would add claws if you want them. They're not required, obviously. You would sew those into the seam of the edge that you'd be sewing in this one. I didn't do this at first, but I ended up going back and adding claws per the commissioner's request, but I didn't record that part because of how late in the day it was. Once you've finished sewing all those pieces, you can start putting everything together. Start by sewing your wrists to the back of the hand and to the palm of the hand. Make sure that your longer fur matches up with longer fur, and that if you chose to shave it shorter on the palm side of the wrist, that it matches up with the palm. You should have labeled these in the beginning anyway, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with that part. Once you sew those pieces together, you can begin to sew the fingers on. You should match up each of the numbered fingers with its specific spot on the paw to make sure that everything is in the correct spot. You should put the no paw pad parts of the fingers, the top parts of the fingers, connect those to the backs of the hand where the longer fur is. And you're going to take the paw pad side and you're going to connect them to the palm side. This is an extremely simple step and it should not take very long, depending on if you're using a sewing machine or not. Once you are finished sewing all the fingers on, you should have 4 halves, 2 halves for each side. You are going to match a palm side with the back of the hand, and you are going to lay them together, fur sides facing each other, and you're going to proceed to pin the halves together so that you can sew the wrists with your machine if you have one. When you are done doing this, you should pin all the fingers together if you have not already. You can sew these 2 halves together on the sewing machine, or you can choose to hand sew them. I personally choose to hand sew these ones because they have larger paw pads and I wanted them to look cleaner. This is going to be the longest part of the process, or at least it is for me, so I suggest being slow with it so that you don't have to seam rip any of the seams and do it again. And if you are just slow and patient with it, things will just go a whole lot easier and look cleaner in the end. Now, I did not fully finish the recording of this video before finishing these paws, but once you are finished sewing all of these parts together, you are going to choose whether you want to line them or not. I did not put the lining part of this in this video, but I will make another one explaining how to line paws and install the lining. But after lining, you are going to flip your paws right side out, and all that is really left is to brush them out and pull any fur from the seams, and you're done. Congratulations, you've made your first set of paws. They may look a little rough around the edges at first, but you can also choose to like trim some of the fur to make it all even. And then, if you liked this video, please feel free to subscribe to my channel and leave any suggestions for more tutorials in the comments, as well as any questions, and check out the links in the description for the pattern I used, as well as any of my other social media platforms. And if you enjoyed the content, please feel free to leave a like, and if you have any suggestions on how I could make it better, please feel free to let me know. I know not all the camera angles in this were great, and I know I skipped an entire part of the making process, but I will redo this eventually again with some 4-finger hand paws, and that should turn out a little better. And I will also be making a bodysuit tutorial soon. Within the next week or so, it should be posted. Thank you for watching to the end, and please, have a lovely day.